Hey everybody, Michelle here with Michelle Beckner Family Wellness. Welcome to the Happy Mama Healthy Baby live show episode 20. Today we are talking about, sorry, I just got a weird notification. Today we are talking about making your own baby food and making it easy because, it is easy. A lot of people think it's easy to just go to the store and buy a bunch of jars of baby food, but I beg to differ. I think it's much easier to just whip it up at home. And what's even easier is just having your kids eat what you're eating, right? So I'm going to go through a couple tips that I have for making baby food. But first, I want to introduce myself and what I do for anybody who's new. And maybe you hear my dog walking around. That's Ziggy. We need to cut his nails. Okay. So yes, I am Michelle Beckner of Michelle Beckner Family Wellness. I work with moms. I help them take care of themselves so that they can feed their babies. So so there's like three kind of things that I specialize in. One is just helping mom navigate life with young kids and babies. Two is helping moms, supporting moms who have to go dairy-free or are on any kind of elimination diet because they're breastfeeding a baby who has allergies, and then also starting solids. I am your starting solids expert. So that's what we're talking about today. So the way this show works is Tuesday nights around 8 o'clock after bedtime. I'm on here talking about the happy mama side of things, navigating life with young children. I talk some about like healthy eating for mom or just, in general, things like that. And then Friday afternoons, like now, I'm talking about healthy baby stuff. So usually either allergies, dairy-free type stuff, or starting solids. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So I've done a few posts in the past about starting solids. I have a really good post or live video, I guess I should say, explaining the difference between baby-led weaning and purees and kind of what I like to do and what I recommend. So go back and check that out if you're interested. I have no idea what number it is, but this is only show number 20, so there's not a billion shows to go back on. So check that out. All I'm going to really say, I'm not going to go into like the details on baby-led versus purees, but so yeah, making your own baby food with baby-led weaning for like the purists, the baby-led purists, you could say, they don't really make baby food. They just feed the baby what they're eating. So that's like super, super easy, right? Sometimes you're eating stuff that's not like totally appropriate for a baby, or if it's like spicy food, or again, like if your baby has allergies, and I mean, if you're nursing, then you can't eat what they can't eat also. Anyway. So yeah, that's like the absolute easiest thing to do. I find it kind of hard to do that 100% of the time. But if you are doing like the baby-led type approach, which basically just means you're not doing pureed food, spoon feeding, a few things that you want to do is, one, you want to make sure it's soft enough to squish between your fingers, and two, you want to make sure it's appropriately sized. So either like pea-sized, or at least like 2 inches long, like a stick that they can hold in their hand and eat. So you want it to be at least 2 inches, so that part, because especially when they're first starting solids, they don't have their pincer grasp, so they have their palmar grasp, right? So if they're picking something up, it needs to be long enough that they can pick it up and it'll still like stick out of their hand so they can eat it, right? So those are the two things. Make sure it's soft and make sure it's appropriately sized. Some of my favorite things to do as far as making baby-led type food is to just cut up veggies into long sticks and steam them. So carrots, sweet potatoes, those are two of my favorite things. You want to steam them just long enough so, again, like I said, they're soft enough to squish between your fingers, but they're not so soft that they're getting mushy, or if you pick it up, it just like flops over and falls apart. But those are some of my favorite go-to baby-led type stuff. Even like broccoli, if it's like a big enough thing, or cauliflower, they can it's like a perfect little handle, like they can pick up like the stem and then gnaw on the florets of the broccoli. And what I like to recommend is that's really, really great snack, because cooked vegetables can stay at room temperature, like, you don't have to worry about them. I don't want to say forever, but they can stay at room temperature for a long time. So you can take like just a little Ziploc baggie of some steamed carrots or a mix of steamed vegetables, bring it with you to a restaurant, bring it with you if you're like out, at the zoo for the day or whatever, and baby can munch on that. So that's a super good, easy snack to make. You can make a bunch and then stick them in the freezer, put them in like a Ziploc bag, and just make sure you lay them flat so that when they freeze, they don't all like stick together in a clump, and you can just break off what you need. Another super, super easy baby food is beans. And I don't know, both of my babies loved beans. So you could just buy canned beans. We do that. I mean, we pretty much always have a stock of canned beans just because it's easy. But really the best way to do it is buy the dried beans. And best, like most nutritious, you don't have to worry about like chemicals from the can leaching into the beans. And it's way, 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 way cheaper. So you just soak them overnight and then cook them on the stove, or if you have a pressure cooker, an Instant Pot, that makes it even easier. So beans are great. And those are, again, like they're soft enough to squish between your hand. If you're cooking them at home, make sure that you cook them enough so that they're soft. The bigger ones, like kidney beans, are nice. I'd stay away from garbanzo beans or chickpeas for a little bit because they're kind of just like harder and their skin peels off kind of funny. So like when you're first starting, like until you're confident that your baby is like a pretty confident eater, and stay away from those. But those are some of my favorite baby-led weaning foods that are super easy to make at home in big batches. Again, the beans you can freeze and then just like pull out what you need at the time. So as far as purees go, those are super easy too. So you can do single food purees, you can do mixes, like don't, or I guess I should say get creative with like the different mixes that you're doing. Look up online or even look at like the baby food that's offered in the store for inspiration of like what kind of foods you can mix. Babies love cauliflower and leek. That's one of my favorite first foods. And it's actually, I think it's like from what I've read, it's a common first food mixture in France too. It's really mild and really tasty. So yeah, same thing, steam up the veggies and then puree them together. So, and you can do a mix of fruit and veg, like beets and apples. That's like super sweet. So babies love that kind of mix. Yeah, play around with it. I liked doing mixing potatoes, like just white potatoes with either zucchini or peas. That makes like a nice creamy texture that my babies always loved. Don't be afraid of like adding some seasoning in there. If it tastes good to you, it'll probably taste good to them. It's totally not true that babies like bland food. So make it flavorful. And babies love garlic too. So add some, like just, I mean, you don't need a ton. Add a little bit of roasted garlic to it, puree it up. So I'm not going to get too far into different puree combinations, but yeah, it's simple as that. Like you can make a huge batch of food so easily. Just stick it all. We have like, I meant to take it out to show you guys. We have like a little steamer pot. Whatever works for you for steaming vegetables. Do a bunch at once. Freeze them. Super easy and way cheaper than buying those little jars in the store or pouches. What else do I want to talk about? Okay, so just a few more little details. As far as pureeing, my absolute favorite kitchen tool is an immersion blender or stick blender, whatever you want to call it. This is mine. I like not just for baby food. Like in the winters, I make all kinds of soups with this. Just throw in whatever veggies you have, puree it up, and it's good to go. So I use this all the time. It is so easy to clean. Like if I can use this instead of my blender for anything, I do, because it's so easy to clean. You just, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're all made pretty much the same way. This part stays clean. This is the part that plugs in. This part comes off. It's easy to clean by hand, rinse off, throw in the dishwasher, whatever. That's all it is. So I highly recommend getting a stick blender. I love this one. It's Cuisinart. I'm pretty sure it's like Bed Bath & Beyond. Probably less than $20. It's totally worth it. So I'd recommend at least getting that. I have, which I don't love this. I think this is this is KitchenAid. And I know it's backwards, but I don't love this, but I do use it a lot. It's like a little miniature food processor. I'd say maybe like 2 or 3 cups, I guess. So it's just got 2 speeds, chop or puree. But it's like a perfect size for like a little bit of baby food, or I use it for all kinds of stuff. So it's like a little less intimidating to take out to use for whatever cooking you're doing. Just keep in mind it's small, so it's not like a super powerful motor, so you don't get like super nice creamy textures with it, which is fine for baby food at least. So some sort of steamer basket, steamer pot, contraption to steam vegetables, and then a stick blender and or cheapo tiny little food processor is all you really need to make tons and tons of baby food. And then you can store them in Ziploc baggies. I recommend like washing them and reusing them. It's better for the environment and it's cheaper. Or we use like little glass jars that can freeze. And I know a lot of people use those like silicone baby molds, so you can put the baby food in it and just pop up like a little ice cube worth. So whatever works for you for freezing. But that's the key. Like just make it while you're cooking dinner. Whatever veggies you're having for dinner, if you don't want to, or yeah, well, you can either feed those to your baby or like, set some aside, make some purees, make some baby led type stuff for them to eat like the next couple days for lunch, or just to throw in your freezer for like a stash to have on hand whenever you need it, if that's all making sense. Okay, 2 more things I want to talk about. One is tips as far as nutrition. So I'm like totally the veggie girl, and if you don't know me, then you will quickly learn that we eat lots of veggies in this house, all kinds of veggies. So I totally, for first foods, in my opinion, meat's cool if you're into meat as long as it's high quality meat. That's a great first food, but I usually just go with veggies. And I say, like, it's not that I'm worried about babies getting a taste for sweet food, because I'm sure you've heard before breast milk is like super sweet. And maybe you've even tried it. It's super sweet. So we're naturally inclined to like sweet food. So I'm not like worried about giving them a sweet tooth by starting them with fruit. But the thing is, like, it's sweet, so they're going to like it. Like, you don't really have to worry about like getting their taste buds used to liking it. Yeah, maybe textures are different between different fruits, but you can worry about that later. Like, really try to get them used to all different kinds of vegetables. So yeah, I usually start with vegetables. Oh yeah, okay. So I was talking about nutrition. So veggies are great. Another key that a lot of people don't realize is how important it is to add fats to your food, to your baby's food, especially your baby's food. Their diet should be, I think, something like 60% fat. Like if you look up, I should have done it before because I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but just do like a quick Google search of the like the macronutrient contents of breast milk. So that's like fat, carbohydrates, and protein. I think it's like 60% fat. So a few things that's important about fat. One of the most important things for you and for baby is that some of our most important vitamins are fat soluble, meaning they need to be eaten with some amount of fat so that they can be absorbed and used by our body. And those are vitamins A, D, and K. Maybe E too. But so there's a couple fat soluble vitamins. So you want to make sure that whatever fruits or vegetables you're eating, you serve them with a little bit of fat. And so what do I mean by fat? We want healthy fats. Olive oil. So that one usually, I don't recommend cooking with it too much. You shouldn't really heat it past 350. So that's like right around cook temperature. So that's fine if you're doing like low temperature roasting or sauteing or whatever. Coconut oil is a great fat. Avocados or avocado oil is great. We're mostly dairy free here, so we use ghee, we use grass-fed ghee, which is clarified butter, so all the protein is taken out and it's just like the fat of the butter. And then things like chia seeds, flax seeds, and then fish. But obviously, well, yeah, I guess like if you're making a puree, you can puree up some salmon with zucchini or something like that, right? Or carrots. That would be yummy too. So just make sure there's some amount of fat in everything that you are feeding your baby. Oh, and also for babies, it's important for them to have that fat on their body to protect their joints and all their bones and muscles that are growing. It helps them grow stronger. So that's super important. Make sure you do that. You can sprinkle some chia seeds in the applesauce. I do that a lot, and probably the teachers at daycare think think we're like so weird because they're like, what are these weird things in your son's applesauce? But that's what we do. So add fat. I already said don't be afraid of flavor. Get creative with combinations. And you know what? I haven't mentioned anything about roasting vegetables, but that is also a super awesome way to cook because roasting brings out like a really, really nice and sweet flavor. So roasting veggies is great too. So yeah, whichever I do both. If I'm making a huge batch, yeah. Well, I don't know. I was gonna say I usually puree or steam, but I do whatever. The only thing, like steaming's a lot easier to get the consistency right. So if you are making those veggie sticks, I usually steam them just because I can like stop them cooking like right when they hit the right consistency. Roasting is a little bit harder. So I hope that all made sense. Nobody's joined me live, but if you're watching the replay, give me a thumbs up or a heart if you learned anything new. Last thing I want to leave you with, and I know everything's going to be backwards, so I'm sorry. I'm not that tech savvy to like make it so it's not backwards. But I have 2 kids cookbooks. So so the thing is like we want to make it easy, right? And even just like in life in general, not just with baby food, but any kind of cooking. I'm so not the recipe person. But I do love cookbooks and like looking at recipes for inspiration. So don't like feel overwhelmed like you need to buy all these like baby-led weaning or puree cookbooks. Like buy 1 or 2 to be able to just like get inspired with different ideas. And you're not going to be cooking like baby food 3 times a day or even every day. It's going to be like every once in a while you'll make a batch of stuff and that'll be it, right? So don't get like overwhelmed if you buy a book and feel like you need to do everything. I know sometimes that happens with me just because everything looks so good. I want to make it. But, you know, just dog ear the ones that you want to use a lot and you can go back to them again and again. So yeah, this is one book I have. It's called Cooking for Kids by Alain Ducasse. I'm pretty sure he's French. This one I'm like a okay fan of. He goes more the traditional route as far as purees and as far as nutrition is concerned, like with dairy products, which we stay away from and things like that. But there's some good things in here. He's got a good chart about like when, I know you can't see this, but it's like a little chart of like when to introduce different things. So not exactly the way I like to do things. I like to, go back, like I said, listen to my video, but I like the baby to kind of take the lead, and I don't think it needs to be as structured as some pediatricians and some books tell you to be, because to me that just makes it more overwhelming than it needs to be. But there's some good stuff in here. There's some good purees, and then like he does like the puree to the stage 1 with small chunks, and but the thing I do like about this is he's got really, really great flavor combinations, so it's good inspiration for that. And at the end he's got like some sweet treats, strawberry, raspberry stuff. So it's got some good stuff in there. Yeah, if you can find it at the library even to just like, thumb through it and get some inspiration. This book I really, really love. It's called One-Handed Cooks. And it's actually, I think they're from Australia. It's a blog from Australia, I believe. So it's onehandedcooks.com or maybe onehandedcooks.com.au, something like that. Google One-Handed Cooks. They have a really great website. It's by these 3 women, Ali Gaunt, Jessica Beaton, and Sarah Buckle. So I love this book. Like, let me just tell you some of the chapters in here, and it's like totally everything I'm into. I'm not totally... They say some things that kind of go against what I like to teach, but, that's cool. Everybody does things their own way. But just some of these chapters I love. The very first chapter, Teach Your Children How to Eat. I am so passionate about that. Like, it's so important for your baby to develop those eating skills. You don't want them to just be like sucking purees off a spoon forever, and then all of a sudden they're a year old and they're like don't know how to feed themselves and they're choking and they can't eat table food. So teach your children how to eat. They have a good section here about safety with starting solids. The next chapter is offer variety from the start. That's totally all about, that's totally what I'm all about. I think maybe last week or the week before I talked about how important variety is and why we skip baby cereal. It's kind of for the same reason. Accept the mess, let phases come and go, eat meals at the table. Yes, that is all us. So yeah, there's some really great stuff in here, some awesome recipes. But again, don't let it overwhelm you. Don't feel like you need to be making like all this separate food for your baby or for your toddler. The goal is for them to eat what you're eating. And then you just want to make these purees, or, freeze these veggie sticks for baby-led weaning or whatever, for when you need it. So if you're going to a restaurant and you don't feel like buying the kids' meals are the worst, right? So you don't feel like buying a whole entree for them. Or if you're traveling for the day, long car ride, going to the zoo, whatever, it's nice to have those type of food on hand. Or if you're just in the mood to make a special fun thing for your kids, or if you've got an older kid, toddler, that can help you cook, that's always fun. So there's some really, really great stuff in this book. So yeah, check them out. So I guess to recap, baby-led weaning purees, they're both great. Go check out my video on those. With purees, you can roast or steam the veggies, puree them, and I recommend getting like a tiny little food processor, or even better, a immersion blender. Totally get one of these in your kitchen. They're awesome. Yeah, get creative. Don't let it overwhelm you. Don't worry so much about recipes, but there are some good books out there just for inspiration. So I hope that wasn't too all over the place, and I hope that made sense to everybody. And I will be back here next Tuesday talking about Happy Mama stuff. So I'll see all y'all then. Bye.